see God, but you have to know the method. You will be able to see God, provided you utilize and control the tongue. We quoted the verse earlier, Sevon Mukhe hi Jihudao. Jihudao means beginning with the tongue. We have got so many different senses, and all the senses, eyes, ears, touch, smell, can be engaged in yoga. But begin with the tongue. This is the secret. Try to control the tongue and engage in Kṛṣṇa's service, and everything else will come to you. Therefore, our predecessor master teacher, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, says, Sharira avidyajal, jodendriya tehekal. This body is a material body, and the senses are our greatest enemies. Jodendriya tehekal. So out of all the senses, tara madhye jiva iti loba moy sudurmati. Of all the senses, the tongue is the most formidable. Loba moy, it is very greedy, and sudurmati, it is very difficult to control. So if you can control the tongue, all the other senses will automatically be controlled. Simply for the sake of the uncontrolled tongue, so many slaughterhouses are being maintained. So many animals are being murdered every day, thousands of them, millions of them. People cannot give up eating meat because they are addicted to the taste. But what is the difficulty? You can create the same taste with milk curd. Prepare milk curd, or farmer cheese as it's sometimes called, and deep fry it in ghee with salt and spices. You'll get the same taste as meat. You can't tell the difference, actually. But let the animal live. Take its milk and prepare so many nice milk preparations. This is spiritual lifestyle, spiritual diet. But the materialistic rascals cannot even do this. They are willing to kill simply for the sake of their tongue. It is so strong. The tongue is so demanding. You must give me meat. So to satisfy this desire, they're committing so many abominable sinful activities. And as a result, they become bound by the law of karma to accept another material body. And thus the round of birth and death continues. But if you take up this process of the esoteric teaching seriously, control your senses, beginning with the tongue, you can be relieved from all material miseries. Simply if you surrender to Kṛṣṇa, if you become Kṛṣṇa conscious, Kṛṣṇa will take care of you, and you will be saved from samsara, the horrible process of material birth and death. So now you know the secret. You cannot hear this secret, this understanding, this principle of spiritual life anywhere except from the esoteric teaching. If you go down to the local yoga center, maybe sometimes they have chanting, but they won't insist on your keeping a vegetarian diet. Therefore, the chanting will not have any effect. As stated by Patanjali, the first two stages of yoga are yama niyama. Yama means what you must do, and niyama means what you must not do. And one of the things that you must do is hear from a bona fide spiritual master, and one of the things you must not do is take meat products or other animal foods. So, if you try to practice yoga without yama niyama, at least a little bit, it won't have any effect. So actually they are wasting your time, and they're wasting their time as well, trying to teach yoga without any restrictions. It's impractical. This is not the original yoga system. Do they think that they will get the original result? No. Just like if I'm taking a chemistry course, and the instructor says, well, if you mix these two chemicals in a particular proportion, you'll get such and such a result. And I say, no, I don't have to do that. I can just mix it together any old way. Am I going to get the result? Of course not. So similarly, if we try to practice yoga without following the instructions of the great souls without following the instructions in the Vedic literature, which is the actual source of the yoga teaching, then we won't get any result. Simply wasting our time. But yoga is such a great thing. Yoga can give us freedom from birth and death in this material world. That's really a wonderful thing, because that's the source, the cause of all of our suffering. Because the soul, the spiritual living entity, is taking a material body. Tata dehantara prapti. Because the soul is taking a material body, therefore the suffering continues. The suffering is of 4 kinds: birth, death, old age, and disease. And no one in this material world can avoid this suffering. And meanwhile, there are other types of suffering. We all know about them. The different embarrassments and inconveniences of material existence. It's not really suitable for a spirit soul. This material world is temporary, but we are eternal. So there's a complete mismatch between our nature and the nature of the material world. We can't be happy here. So why do we bother even trying? It's futile. All we have to do is practice this yoga process properly, according to the original instructions, and then we can go back home to the spiritual world and attain our original perfect body and live eternally in happiness. No problem at all. The only thing is, people are envious of God. Because they're envious of God, they don't want to follow God's instructions. And this is their great misfortune. This contamination of the heart, that I won't do anything God says, I'll do everything my own way. This is like a rebellious teenager, kind of, how teenagers are so obnoxious and just for no reason they just rebel against everything. They have anger. Well, why do they have anger? Because they have lust, unsatisfied lust. So when we have lust or desire for material sense gratification, and it's not satisfied, then we become angry. And because we become angry, then we're rebellious. Even if someone is trying to help us, we will fight them. So we experience this all the time. We're simply trying to help people understand this yoga process and this spiritual science of the esoteric teaching, but still they resist, still they rebel, even against their own best interest. There's an English saying, cutting off your nose to spite your face. And that's exactly what they're doing. So we cannot help people who are unwilling to follow even the most simple basic instructions. But we can help people who are willing to try. If you have enough faith in the Vedas to try these simple instructions, just take vegetarian food. There's so many nice cookbooks you can get that describe vegetarian cooking. And chant this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Then, simply by controlling the tongue, you will purify all the other senses of the body. And soon you'll get so much reciprocation from God. And you will begin to see and experience things you never have seen before. And at that point, you'll be on the trail of recovering your perfect body. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of My Perfect Body. This is David Hughes, your host, reminding you to visit us on the web at esotericteaching.org.